There's a common misconception that having the best camera gear is the key to success, that better cameras, lenses, and equipment means your photos and videos will just be better, that to improve, we need to be upgrading. While I was at NAB 2023, I was caught up in this too, looking at all the new camera gear that was coming out, drooling at the possibilities if I just had more equipment. But then as I was talking to fellow creators, and I just remember that we all started somewhere. Okay, Armando, quick question.
Yes.
What was your first camera ever?
The one that I remember, it was the Canon XL2. That was the very first one that I remember buying with my own right. I worked hard for it.
Right.
It was the one that, for a consumer, had 24 frames per second. It was like a big deal.
Sony seemed like they were kind of forward thinking with the whole mirrorless thing at the time. So I picked up a 5100, specifically because it had the flip screen on it.
Was the Rebel Canon T3i. My first camera with interchangeable lenses and just shooting 24p. It was just really cool. The first thing that I shot was just a leaf, and I was just blown away by the leaf. I'm like, it's so blurry in the background. I'm a filmmaker.
So I started with the Sony a6000, 50mm nifty 50, like the $200 plastic lens.
First actual camera that I bought was a Sony a6100 right here. I bought it because it has a flip out LCD. It's using 4K 24p and 30p. Top of this camera, I would add a little lavalier or a little shotgun microphone just to keep me going while I was out there.
And I personally shot my old YouTube videos in middle school with my family's Sony CyberShot. Eventually, my first real camera was a Nikon D7000. While we all did think about what cameras we wanted at the time to start with, we didn't know what we didn't know yet.
At the time that I had that camera, I was learning everything. So everything was a limitation, but it was also a way to learn and a way to grow as a filmmaker and photographer and as a YouTuber or storyteller as well. So
once I reached a certain level, I was like, I wonder what else I could do. Let's explore more. Let's get a microphone. Let's get some lights. Let's get a tripod. Let's get a gimbal.
When I started freelancing, when I started shooting, it was like you didn't know what you didn't know. So, oh, my footage is shaky. Figure out a solution.
You just kind of like learn as you go, and you kind of discover new things. And so yeah. But I feel like with limitations on cameras, you're kind of forced to become more creative.
And creativity is the key. No amount of camera gear can make you creative. It can only allow you to express your creativity. If there's a message I want to get across with this video, it's that if gear is the third most important factor, the second most important factor would be education and the technical skills behind using that gear. It's that desire to be better and understand your camera gear and how it can help create the stories you want to tell. Because that desire above all else is how you'll really improve. It's how you'll reach those limitations with your current setup and how you'll figure out what the next real upgrade is that will unlock your potential. And when I say education, it doesn't have to be like formal. While some of us creators had an actual film school background like Sydney, and others like Donna had a background in audio engineering, creators like Kofi had a background in finance, and I have a background in accounting. But the one thing we all had in common was that we were passionate about learning.
I'm from YouTube University, if you will.
Instagram, YouTube, Vimeo, literally any social media platform out there.
It was YouTube University. I did a lot of courses. I did the Jacob Owen cinematography course. I'm currently in AOD right now.
Instead of focusing on having the best camera gear, every creator had to learn the same lesson first.
How can I make this shot look great? How can I tell the story as best as I can with the resources that I have?
Then comes the most important factor. Above camera gear, above education, practice over theory. It's to get out there and just start creating.
There's courses, there's YouTube University. You can watch all the tutorials and all the stuff all day long, but if you're not going outside and getting in the field, it doesn't mean anything. And one of those things, that's the thing that you might very well learn the hard way, where you'll take a bunch of courses, you'll spend a bunch of time on Skillshare or people's channels, and you're like, I have all the skills to go out and shoot a project. You go there and you still don't realize that there's a tactile component to actually learning the craft and getting handheld footage correctly, or making sure you know how to change your exposure for different situations. So one thing is valuable to learn those things, but at the same time, for every one course you watch, you should be shooting twice.
Most successful photographers and videographers learn by doing and by consistently pushing themselves to improve. Take Casey Neistat. He wanted to pursue his passion, and he credits his success to the fact that he just started making videos and never stopped. So when I say that gear doesn't matter, it's not that I'm saying you should shoot your next project on a Sony CyberShot, but that what is most important is just to get out there and start somewhere, regardless of the equipment you have. By embracing limitations, focusing on creativity, and practicing what you learn consistently consistently, you'll be closer and closer to taking ideas out of your head and start sharing it with the world to see on the screen. So if you're just starting out and feeling intimidated by the gear and technical aspects of the craft, or maybe you're well on your journey wondering if better camera gear will make you a better creator, remember that the most important thing is to just create and let your passion and creativity guide you. You'll find that eventually, yes, something technical is holding you back. Maybe you need higher resolution. Maybe you need a different focal length. Maybe you need a more powerful light. And that's starting to hold you back. Then and only then would I say gear matters. All right, I'll see you in next week's video, and I'm gonna leave you guys with this last clip.
Don't be afraid to be wrong about stuff. So I think one of the big things, especially in the creative community, if you're starting out on YouTube, you're starting out as a freelancer, if you're starting out as a DP, there's this inherent fear that everybody doesn't want to have the wrong answer, which is ridiculous because you have to put in a certain amount of quantity to get the quality, which also means you gotta be kind of not good at stuff for a little while. And from that is where you're gonna end up finding some of those key things or some of the stuff that you like or finding your style that eventually you suck so little that you're actually ending up being good at it.